Yes, indeed. How are you today? The one and only Reverend Fred Shaw. Thank you once again for being on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. First of all, let me say the immortal words that we always open with. Go to work.
Go to work with that. I'm ringing the bell because you know school about to be in session. All right.
That's right. It's time for us to talk about the great one.
That's right. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is reserved today. Absolutely. This is 2021. Absolutely. And Reverend Fred Shaw, have you heard before that you have a look like if you had to play, if somebody wanted you to act in a movie and to portray Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., would you?
Well, yeah, I would. People have said that in the past, especially before I went bald-headed. When I had hair, people would often, little kids would say that he looks like Martin Luther King Jr., especially around that time. Of course, I never could see it, but if I could just be a tenth of what he accomplished, I'd be happy in life.
Amen. Absolutely. So being that today is reserved for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we call it a holiday. What are your ideas, or shall we say, what are your perspectives that you would like to share based on the fact that, one, people get the day off in respect, and at the same time, the things that led up to what's taking place in today, where people are trying to continue to honor the perspectives that he wrote about.
Well, first of all, I am one of those people who always try to work on his birthday, not out of disrespect, but the fact that he was accomplishing so much and he gave so much effort. I think that black people, especially on his day, should try to accomplish something, be it feed the homeless, be it give a lecture, be it attend some meeting, doing something that keeps the dream alive and hope moving forward. I know we always want to celebrate people by having the day off, but then most of us who have the day off don't even participate in anything that represents Dr. King. So my thing is, I generally try to work during that time period. But for everybody who don't, I appreciate them for honoring him in that way. But that's just not necessarily the way I look at it. We should honor our leaders. I look at it, we should honor them through working toward more progress.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a great segue into the perspectives and the initiatives, the dream that he had. What would you share with people to help them to help those dreams and those initiatives and those perspectives go forward?
Well, my thing is that the dream comes a lot of times on where you're supposed to go. It's kind of like a non-aware vision. But like what people say with visions, visions without works is hallucinations. Dreams without trying to accomplish something just remains in the dream state. We have to move from we shall overcome till it's time for us to come over. And so we have to not rest on the laurels of the people who came before us, but we're supposed to contribute to the motion to make sure that we get to the next step.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, to note that there may be, shall we say, but as an educator, I know that there are some people that need next steps. They need guidance. They need to know specifically what can they do.
Well, first of all, there are organizations like the Urban League, the NAACP, which you and I are a part of, the National Action Network, where I collaborate with. There's a lot of organizations out there that people could contribute to help keep the dream alive. Also, many people have started their own organizations. All you really need to do is connect with a good cause. So if you're feeding the homeless, if you're educating children, if you're fighting against psychiatric abuse, which you know is my pet peeve through Citizens Commission on Human Rights, if you're doing any of these things and more, then you're contributing to the dream. Where we lose is when we leave it in a dream state and do not take it to the next level. Do not fight for the next thing. We tend to love our comfort more than we love our freedom. So then therefore we are easily manipulated and used in a manner that is not necessarily always in our best interest.
Absolutely. And that goes into the communication. We have, unfortunately, a great display over an abundance of display of anger and violence taking place in many communities worldwide for many different reasons and on many different levels. Like we talk about local, national, local, and it can be regional and national levels. And we talk about people who are just upset and not knowing really where the core is of why they're being upset, and to the point some people are on those psychological drugs or drinking and so forth, and to the point where they do not use their mind wisely and they are operating as a robot and following directions from other people, like they say, hurt people, and it's a vicious cycle that's taking place right now.
Well, the thing that we have to understand is the important thing is about a dream. It cannot come into fruition until we wake up. Right now, people are trying to pass laws to make psychedelic drugs legal. But if you're on a psychedelic drug, if you are a big marijuana smoker, you tend to vote for that because you want to handle and contribute to the thing that you do. That doesn't mean it's better to society, but we don't want to say, oh, it's bad for society if we're doing it. So what they do is capitalize on our Achilles heel so that they can benefit and make money on our habits. And that's the whole thing. Look, if you look at the cigarette commercials, they fighting cigarettes. They fighting vaping. But then they're not fighting marijuana. Well, that's because that's what they want you using. So they will kill off the competition, vaping and cigarette smoke, when the marijuana now, some experts will tell you, will cause psychotic breaks and psychosis. But they're not telling us that. So right now you have an entire dumbing down of society and leading us down the path of psychedelic drugs, magic mushrooms, LSD. All this stuff has already come and failed in the past. But now they're bringing it back again. It's a means of controlling society.
Absolutely. And that's a psychological driven device as well. With the COVID, they said there's different type of strains. And like they said, there are different type of strains of weed. So they keeping you in the mindset, oh, well, we better believe that, because anything that could sound similar to the conversation that deals with weed for many of people that smoke weed, and they saying that on the news and this and that and those type of things, that helps to feed the negativity and the subjective mindset to where it's like, oh, wow, you know what? I might be COVID. Oh, wait a minute. Did all these different things, because they got you thinking in the mindset and the vocabulary of what they do like, which is strains, the different strands of this and that, and you know what I mean? So they doing that purposefully too.
Well, that's all the mind control thing that they do. But check this out. It's like, and I think I said this before in your program, imagine, if you will, a virus so dangerous you have to be tested to even know that you got it. In other words, I know more people who went in and tested and got sick, where people who were supposed to test stayed home and got through. So we have to be very careful in what we do and how we do it, because something is not right in this whole story. Now you got multiple strains. So are we supposed to handle all of these strains with one shot? Do we have to have a shot for each strain? I mean, how is this supposed to go? How is it? Let me tell you something. If this was the bubonic plague and people were dead in the street and eyes bleeding and stuff, you would have to tell people to stay home.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So something is not quite right. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling anybody what to do for them.
Right.
All I'm saying is that they have not had the time to assure that they had put in all the protections that we need unless they already had created the vaccine. Before we even knew that there was going to be a problem.
Right. Well, we do know, like they saying, just because it's different strains and different things, since I don't know what time, but since Lysol cans, we talked about that on another show, that we saw corona. You could read coronavirus on the can, on the Lysol can in the 70s.
Right.
And so now, since they talk about different strains and strands and so forth, well, being that today is the day that's reserved for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, there are different strains or strands or versions or perspectives and accomplishments that have taken place in correspondence, or shall we say in collaboration, in the perspectives that were used for Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech and other recordings that we've heard. So unfortunately, we don't hear as many things about the successes, about what we would like to have taken place and what things that have taken place. So I think that that's another thing we should do too for the NAACP, is to definitely, like you do in your newsletters and when you share information on your monthly calls, to continue to celebrate the work, the progress that has taken place, and not just so much, like the people per se, because like right now, yes, we're all off from work, and unfortunately Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has passed on for or transcended so long ago now. We need, and what his thing seemed to be, from my little old perspective, is the work, like we were sharing at the top of the show. So we definitely need to start focusing on the objectivity, because there are a lot of people focusing on how they feel about this and the coronavirus and the different things. Those are what you feel, or how they're trying to tell you how you should feel. And because if you we gonna give you this paper that say you do have COVID, but you've been around this other person for 24/7 the last 360 days, that person doesn't have it though, but you do. So, and you guys both retired. So this is what we gonna make you feel, because we gonna put this information in your hand. But if the work is, and like you said, because something doesn't sound right, the documentation is valid, where you can, like we say, measure it, we can evaluate it, and it makes sense. We could see it, like if it was a bubonic plague, we could really see it. Then now we're working with something. But as long as we in this abstract zone, there's going to continue to be miscommunication. There's going to continue to be more violence and different things taking place, because nobody likes, or is rare that people like to operate in the dark.
And that's what they have us do. Even when you go to the hospital, nobody can visit you. Nobody can do all of that stuff. So there's nobody to monitor your treatment when you can walk into the room. Nobody to know if the machine cut off, and the nurses don't know it because they're overwhelmed. You can't even be in the room. I mean, the thing is this. I believe that we're all going to catch it anyway. All of this is to do is spread out the number of people that go into the hospital so that the system is not overwhelmed. I think if we hadn't shut down our society right now, almost a year later, that we'd have already been through. Now, how many would have died? How many would not have died? All I know is why is the numbers of heart attacks and flu deaths and everything else dropping, but the COVID is going up. And those are questions I can't ask. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what's really going on. And again, I tell everybody, you are responsible for your own health. Don't listen to me over your doctor. You got to make your own decisions on what you're going to do. I just know that I was actually in Vegas some months ago, July, and they reported that 500 employees had tested positive for the virus. And I was there in the hotel where and I came back and just quietly self-quarantined. And now that's 6 months or 7 months ago. So, you know, I don't know the answer. I don't pretend. I get asked that all the time on these shows. But the truth of the matter is, it's like in boxing. Protect yourself at all times.
Absolutely. Go to work. And I know you're going to have another show here soon that you have to go to. I just wanted to share that Dr. Shima is the head of the education department for the Inglewood South Bay NAACP under your charge as the president. Dr. Shaw, I have an announcement here. Dr. Shima wanted me to share that May 13, 2020, there was a Facebook Live where there were faith leaders that joined Miss Woodard of the New Vision Church of Jesus Christ in prayer, protection, healing, and elimination of underlying conditions. And I thought that was really, really neat. I wanted to just bring that back to your mindset because I know that you want to collaborate and build more of a communication vehicle with other pastors. And I think, you know, is very, very, very serious because there's a lot of people and a lot of children, young adults that are becoming doctors and nurses that still actually need that prayer. So I was just wondering if you can get with your other pastors, and because there's a lot of pastors that have doctors and nurses that attend their churches, to get back into that energy, building that energy, because with the pandemic they have people, a lot of people don't go to gather or to fellowship. So actually, can you speak to that and how possibly you think we can build that energy back in the world?
Well, the thing is that the spirit of man and the prayers to God and so forth must remain intact.
Yes.
We can do this on a physical level, but it is the spiritual triumphs that gets us over.
Yeah.
And so I would tell the pastors not only get involved in prayer, and there are a lot of pastors that are praying across the nation, but we must also take action. And, because it says faith without works is dead. And I challenge and I tell anyone, I will know your faith by your works. So if we are sitting back and preaching on Sunday, but doing nothing to help mankind on Monday, then something is wrong. And I challenge the pastors to take on the issues. In fact, you have just gotten an invitation within the last hour for a leadership conference.
Okay.
Tomorrow at noon. And anybody that that is a leader that should be on that call, please send them that invitation. You got to register, but it's real simple, name and email. And but do it as soon as you can, because then they got to send you back your entrance thing, and I want to make sure that we all can get on. It's only going to be an hour. It's not for everybody to give a dissertation in life. If you want to speak against domestic violence, then you say you have 1 minute to say, I'm against domestic violence. This is why. That's it. We're not having a keynote speaker. So don't come on trying to be the key. You just state the problem. We'll take it down. And then those issues from all of the organizations, and we're working with unions, we're working with clergy, we're working with communities, those people will be willing to stand with you to fight your cause. But this is not the time for you to try to impress everybody with your academia, how great a preacher you are, any of that stuff. If you got a major issue, don't say, I want to stop women from getting beat up. No, tell the people you know to move out of that situation, and we will address it. But don't come on and talk about Uncle Billy beating up Aunt Sue. We ain't dealing with that no more. We're not a victim no more.
That's right.
We're coming with the solutions to the different problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that in mind, there are some LA County EMS. And Dr. Shima also sent me this report here, and this was after our last show, I believe. And it's unfortunate. We do have people that are going to be in route or in they're working their job, and they're gonna have to make some for real decisions. Like she's sharing with me how the LA County EMS has directed ambulance crews. This is not like it's new news, but it's still prevalent. The LA County EMS has directed ambulance crews not to transport patients with little chance of survival to hospitals to conserve the use of oxygen. Now, some of those people, those EMS, I'm sure that they have parents or they have people that they know that are, have unfortunately the underlying conditions, and they're going to be put in that predicament.
Well, what they're doing is selectively stating who lives and dies. So, and that we all should be, especially while we're in our home doing exercise. There's programs all over the TV where people exercise. You should make sure you get your vitamins, including vitamin D, C, and B, in your body, and anything else that you take, CMOS, any of these things, so that your immune system can be built. They have basically said, if you have a heart attack and they don't think they can revive you, you're not being taken to the hospital. So let us be responsible. If you're diabetic, change your diet right now. Don't be eating ice cream and cookies, go into a cardiac arrest, and then think they're going to save you. If they can't save you in that house, they're not transporting you. So, and that's because the overflow of people in the hospitals. And don't go to the hospital with the sniffles or because you got a sore back, and then next thing you know, you end up with COVID because you went where? To the hospital where people with COVID are. So, we have to, all this. Because some people, bless their hearts, they like the drama of, I'm sick and I got to go to the doctor. This ain't the time to do that.
Right. That's that mindset we was talking about. And we got to strengthen up the mindset. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, but now, don't hesitate if you think you're having a heart attack, but don't sit up and eat, chili peppers and then say, I'm having a heart attack when all you got is gas.
Or even go to the grocery store and get a gallon of ice cream. That shouldn't even be in the house.
It shouldn't even be in the house. So those are the things that we can work on. And, feel your joy right now. Study your religion, Christianity, whatever it is. Study it at this point. Create the stories that you always wanted to create. Do exercise and things since you're sitting there while you're watching TV. You don't have to go walk out in the community, which I recommend with a mask. You go out, recommend look at the sky, look at the buildings, look at the flowers, and get your walk in. But if you can't sit right there and look at that TV, I get on the elliptical now while I'm watching basketball.
And acting like you out there on the court too.
Elliptical, I'm playing with
that part. Absolutely. Like I hope other people in the future will even listen to our shows and take notes or read, some brochure, while they can, because we're multitasking all the time, and it's not a form of disrespect when nobody's saying to glue your ear to your headphones, although we have these Bluetooth, fancy Bluetooth, new style Bluetooth, earphones and so forth, but it's something about, you can still be exercising, like you said, washing dishes, mapping out your own blueprint, creating a list for the grocery store, a new list, thinking about it, but actively being engaged simultaneously. So that way it's not like, oh, I have to sit here and listen, or I'm sitting to listen to the GoDaWork radio show with Reverend Shaw on Mondays, 15 to 25 minutes, and my time. It's productive time, and we want to make it where you can actively be engaged and be inspired, motivated, and simultaneously, while the show is going, you're actively working on something that will be done by the time the show is over.
Exactly.
And and then you on your way toward making things happen before the next week's show. So
exactly.
Amen.
So that's what we need to do, and we need to continue in keeping ourselves occupied. It is so tempting to want to go everywhere and attend a little party and get all the family who you haven't seen all year and get them all together. But then you don't know who they've been around and stuff. And, but with that, I do not walk in the spirit of fear. I go where I want. I just carry my mask. I keep my hands washed. I keep my social distancing and, those type of things. Constantly wash your hands, at least 20 seconds. So we can do those things and keep ourselves sick. From being sick. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's about. I just want to thank you for continuing to have an informative show, to bring information to the public, to be a real hero. I was telling somebody the other day, we have to understand Jesus would not have been Jesus if there were no sick or no one to save. Doctors may seem all important, but they're only as valuable as they are when people are sick. So the sick have an important role in this whole thing. Educators educate those who are illiterate. So it's not how well you rose up by yourself in illiteracy. It's the fact that you had somebody. So we're all dependent on one another. And so people can say, oh, Reverend Shaw has great topics. But if it is not for the people like you who let me come on the show and express my viewpoints, people would not get the information that you provide on your show. Absolutely. So I just want to always commend you for the job that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to ring the bell because school is out for the day. Okay? Because it be real school, community advocacy school. I feel like on the GoDaWork radio show on Mondays with Reverend Shaw. GoDaWork. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Until next week, go to work.